It's Wednesday, May 11th, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, bringing you the latest local news, including a woman arrested in connection to a Trumbull heroin overdose, a Milford man arrested on child porn charges, and much more. It's also our second week of our partnership with Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan for Mental Health Awareness Month, and we'll be talking later with Dr. John Douglas about heroin use in the suburbs. Rob Adams will also have a look at your forecast today and a Nutmeg Sports update, and Donald Lang will take a look back on this day in history. But first, a Monroe woman turned herself in on a warrant at Trumbull Police Headquarters on Thursday, May 5th, in connection with a fatal heroin overdose that happened at a Starbucks in Trumbull Center back on January 6th. Police said that 22-year-old Christina Lee consented to a search of her vehicle after a 24-year-old Stratford man was found unconscious in the store's bathroom, and then investigators found needles, belts, and other items used to inject heroin in her car. There were also trace amounts of heroin found in envelopes that were inside the car. According to a report, Lee told police on the scene that she did not know that there were needles in her car and that she had picked the man up to go get coffee at Starbucks. In her statement to police, she added that she did not know the man was going into the bathroom to shoot heroin. She testified that she did not supply him with the drugs. The report confirmed that a needle and cotton swabs were found inside the bathroom and that there was heroin in the victim's system at the time of his death. He was pronounced dead at St. Vincent's Hospital later that afternoon. Lee was not arrested at the scene in January, but after the investigation closed, a warrant was obtained for her arrest, and she's scheduled to appear in court today. In other news, a Milford man was charged with possession of child pornography for allegedly uploading images to a social media site. According to police, back on February 2nd, the Milford Police Department received a cyber tip from the Center for Missing and Exploited Children that several images containing child pornography were uploaded to a social media site. During an investigation, it was determined that the images were uploaded by Luis Daniel Ortiz Martinez, who's 20 years old and lives on Harrison Avenue in Milford. Ortiz Martinez was taken into custody on May 6th and held on a $10,000 bond to be arraigned in Milford court that day. And a 19-year-old New Canaan man was arrested in the Bronx and charged with grand larceny of an automobile from Darien back on May 3rd. A Darien resident contacted police May 2nd to report that her boyfriend's 2016 Nissan Maxima was missing from Grove Street. The woman did not have a set of keys at home with her when the car went missing, and her boyfriend was unaware of the vehicle being moved. According to police, the car had been left unlocked. A bulletin was sent out to neighboring law enforcement agencies, and on May 3rd, New York City police located the vehicle in the area of Teller Avenue and 162nd Street in the Bronx. Young Kirk was allegedly found sleeping inside the vehicle and told police that he had traded his own Volkswagen GTI for the Nissan. Young was arrested at the scene, and the Nissan's owner claimed he did not know of Young or the GTI. Last month, Young had also been arrested in New Canaan for possession of marijuana after police broke up a fight between several young men. And 20-year-old Mason Mobilio of Easton was arrested by Reading police on Sunday around 5 a.m. after he allegedly entered a home on Woodland Drive Extension and threatened a resident there. He was charged with second-degree burglary and threatening after police responded. Police Chief Douglas Fuchs stressed that this was not a random act, as there was a personal history between Mobilio and a resident of the home. It is not suspected this time that a burglary is connected to the string of incidents which occurred 6 months ago in Reading. And Ridgefield police detectives have arrested a local man at his home on May 5th in connection with a home invasion at Mamanasco Lake last fall in which a knife was displayed. 21-year-old Edward Generico of 67 Tacora Trail was charged with home invasion, unlawful restraint, threatening, and sixth-degree larceny. The arrest stems from an incident that occurred last November 4th in which Generico forced his way into a Mamanasco Road home armed with a knife. He confronted the female homeowner and stole an undetermined amount of cash. He was arrested on a warrant and processed at Ridgefield Police Headquarters, unable to post a $100,000 bond. He was set to appear in court soon after. And authorities say they've tranquilized a large male bear that was on an entrance ramp to Interstate 91 and are relocating him to a wooded area. The bear was seen in several New Haven locations Tuesday before he headed to the highway. Authorities say this created a dangerous situation because a car could have hit the animal, which weighed more than 350 pounds. State Environmental Conservation Police were able to lure the bear up a tree and then shoot him with 2 tranquilizer darts just after 8 o'clock at night. It happened near State Street entrance to I-91 North. Connecticut State Police and New Haven Police assisted. Environmental officials say they've had no previous encounters with the bear. He had no collar or ear tags, and they say bears in urban areas aren't seen often. And fatal crashes involving drivers who use marijuana have doubled in Washington state after the Evergreen state legalized the drug in 2012. That, according to the latest impaired driving research by the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety. In the study, researchers found that the number of drivers involved in fatal crashes who had a detectable level of active THC, which is pot's main chemical component, in their blood increased from 8 to 17 fatalities between 2013 and 2014. In addition, 1 in 6 drivers involved in fatal crashes in 2014 had recently used marijuana. The AAA findings raised some serious concerns about drug-impaired driving in at least 20 states that have legalized pot or are considering legalization this year, according to Peter Kissinger, the foundation's president and CEO. The study offers a few conclusions. First, that there's no reliable scientific way to show that drivers become impaired at a specific level of marijuana in the blood because pot can affect people differently, making it more challenging to develop consistent, fair legal guidelines. But there's much more on those stories at any of our HAN network news sites. We're going to switch gears now and throw it over to Rob Adams for a look at the forecast.
All right, Kate, good morning, everyone. Beautiful day outside, sunny and a high near 73. The wind will be calm. Tonight, clear, low 46. We move to Thursday, sunny and 71 with a fairly calm wind as well. Increasing clouds Thursday night as we drop down to 53. For Friday, a chance of showers, then showers likely as we move through the afternoon, and a thunderstorm might be thrown in as well. Mostly cloudy, a high near 72. With the wind, well, not a big deal, but it's the chance of precipitation sitting around 60% that you want to keep an eye on. More of that continues into Friday night with a low of 53. Saturday, chance of showers in the afternoon, partly sunny and 70 otherwise. Sunday, mostly sunny and only 57 as we drop back down again. Mostly sunny and 61 for Monday, mostly sunny and 63 for Tuesday. Around the region, we've got Wilton at 66. Westport is at 66 as well. And here in Shelton, 67 degrees, Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Rob. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Donald Dang takes a look back on this day in history. Rob has a Nutmeg Sports update, and we have some more news coming up after this. For more than 50 years, Triple S has been Fairfield County's expert service for carpet, upholstery, and drapery cleaning. We provide the best in repairs and in-depth restoration, understanding fabrics and how to properly clean and restore them. Our staff will come to your home to clean your wall-to-wall carpet to perfection. We can also pick up your fine carpets and bring them to our facilities. With locations in Norwalk, Stamford, and Stratford, Triple S will get the job done fast, big or small. At Triple S, you can count on our people as well as our cleaning. Find us at triplesclean.com or 203-847-8000.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Drop off your knives to be sharpened, grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers, and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
Can't wait for it to get warmer so you can start fishing again? Get over to the Dock Shop, where they have the latest in fishing tackle, marine electronics, boating supplies, and more. But remember, the Dock Shop isn't your average tackle shop. You'll also find the finest selection of nautical apparel, jewelry, home decor, and gifts in New England. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
You are watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. Nearly 500,000 viewers enjoyed our broadcasts in the first 5 months. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Jessica Murrin, Advertising Director, at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
We're back on this Wednesday edition of your Coffee Break, and it's time to throw it over to Donald Eng's look back on this day in history. Check it out.
The Midwest meets the East Coast, but not in a good way. First though, 1927, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, founded by Louis C. Mayer. There he is right there. He actually is the second M in MGM. 2 years later, the Academy began giving out awards for excellence in film. Yes, the Academy Awards. To 1949, the country of Siam officially changed its name to Thailand for the second time. The name Thailand had been in use since 1939, but was reverted back to Siam in 1945, and then in 49 they decided they liked the new name better, so they changed it back. 1984, tragedy in New Jersey. 8 people die in a fire at Six Flags Great Adventures Haunted Castle. The Jackson Township fire inspector testified later that he had never even inspected the castle because it was made up of 17 different trailers with plywood and foam partitions. The township therefore considered the castle a temporary structure, even though it had been at the park for more than 5 years. The castle also lacked a building permit or certificate of occupancy and had no sprinklers or alarms, despite repeated recommendation by the park's own safety consultants. And finally, now we go to 1934, the beginning of a nearly decade-long misery in the Midwest, for this. Yes, on this day, in 1934, a massive storm sends millions of tons of topsoil flying from across the parched Great Plains all the way to New York, Boston, and Atlanta. Severe drought and unsound farming practices were the primary cause, but this day marked the beginning of what would come to be known as the Dust Bowl era in Kansas. That is your look back in history for today, May 11th, and I am Donald Ing.
Thanks, as always, to Don. And it's now time to throw it over to Rob Adams for a Nutmeg Sports Update.
Thanks, Kate. We were at Darien High School yesterday as the top 2 girls lacrosse teams in the FCAC met for the first time in the regular season as the Blue Wave hosted the New Canaan Rams. How did it turn out? Let's watch the highlights. So, a good start in that game for the Blue Wave and the Rams. They traded ties multiple times, and right before halftime, the Rams were able to get it back to 10-9 on a Catherine Granito goal, a breakaway opportunity. So 10-9 at the half, the thinking was, hey, the Rams are right back in the game, but it turned into a very different game. Highlights are ready. Let's watch now. She awaits the whistle, makes her approach, throws it home, 2-1. And it's taken right back by the Blue Wave, and a quick shot on net. Emma Jake puts it home.
Braden Dial again with a really close look at the net, and looked like she lost the handle as she got in close to make the shot.
Another try down low and scoring. So the Rams able to tie it right back up. 4-3, 12:24 to go in the first half. Splitting defenders, Murphy alone, she puts it home. Carly Bucci goes back behind the cage. It's a 5-4 game. Those numbers do get a little hard to see as they're able to score. The ball gets rolled out 15 yards for the free position there.
It looks like the Wave were offside. Cronin was the extra player back over the attack zone line.
So down goes, looks like Armstrong to score it. 1:02 to go in the half. So it'll be Laura Murphy out of the free position. Looks like they'll line her up 11 yards out. Worker just toward the far side. Starts her approach, she'll take the shot and throws it in. I agree, because so often the timeout isn't necessarily about setting a play. This down close to Granito, one-on-one, scores!
Catherine Granito, number 2 on a...
Darien will take the lead into the locker room or off to the sideline at 10-9 from the free position. Laura Murphy, the approach, the shot, and the goal. Now a 4-goal lead. It's 13-9. Nearly stolen away by the Rams initially, as Ojimek almost grabbed it, but sent right down, looking close, on net, all alone, yes! Kaylee Morrow joins the party, and it's a 17-9 game. Shots 27-25 in favor of the Blue Wave, and 19-10 on the scoreboard. And an emphatic win, as on net it goes, and it's going to go to 20-10 with Laura Murphy. Darien emphatically with a 20-10 win over the New Canaan Rams. Among the stars for the Blue Wave quite clearly was Chan. 7 goals. Darien stays perfect in the FCAC at 8-0. Let's go to the rest of the girls lacrosse scoreboard now. And Staples got a 16-4 win over Trumbull. It was Ridgefield by 10 over Stamford, as the Tigers are now 13-1 on the season. Kimmy Weinstock scored 3 times and was dominant in the face-off circle. Wilton over St. Joseph 18-3, and Ward got by Joel Barlow 8-5 over the boys lacrosse now. New Canaan a big win all over Trinity Catholic 16-1. Staples a 15-0. Ridgefield 17, Trumbull 6. Kevin Lindley scored 5 times, and Brendan Saylor had a hat trick and 4 assists. Darien really took it to Norwalk. Greenwich by 10 over McMahon 3. On to baseball, Greenwich continues their ascent in the FCAC standings, an 8-0 win over West Hill. A good win over Central. A good win for West Hill as they double up Ridgefield 6-3. Staples an 8-0 win over the New Canaan Rams. We'll see the records in a few hours. Ludlow doubled up Norwalk 4-2. Darien 7, St. Joseph 0, and Jack Mastriana pitched a 2-hitter. Drew Connolly, Colin Cahall had RBI singles for Wilton in the 6th. They beat Trumbull 2-0. Again, we'll see Wilton and Staples later today. Softball scores: St. Joseph, the Mercy over Darien. New Canaan by 2 over Trumbull beat Wilton 15-3. West Hill nipped Ridgefield, and Ward got an extra inning win over Ludlow. To boys tennis now. Winners on the scoreboard from yesterday were Ludlow, Darien, Staples over Ward, a shutout for Ridgefield over Trinity Catholic, Norwalk a 6-1 win over St. Joseph, New Canaan beat Wilton 5-2, Greenwich 6, McMahon 1. On the girls tennis side, Ludlow beat Danbury 6-1, Greenwich 7, McMahon 0, Trumbull and Darien with shutout wins as well, Staples over Ward 5-2, New Canaan nipped Wilton 4-3, it was Ridgefield and St. Joseph with shutouts also. Moving on to boys golf. New Canaan, a 4-shot win over Ridgefield. West Hill all over Central. Danbury took care of St. Joseph. It was Trumbull beating Wilton and Norwalk, and Greenwich by 24 shots over Ludlow. Finally, over to girls golf. Darien over Wilton 215-217, so a 2-shot win there. Ward fell to New Canaan by 12 as Tessa Piankowski shot a 42, and Danbury over Ridgefield. One other note, Jack Jones placed first in the long, the triple, and the high jump for the triple victory as the Trumbull High boys track team defeated Staples 80.5 to 69.5. The significance of that, first time in 15 years that they have knocked off the Wreckers. Moving on to the schedule now. We mentioned we have baseball on a full docket of baseball games. Wilton and Staples at Staples High School. That is at 4:30 this afternoon. 4:30, not the usual 4 o'clock start time here on the HAN network. Plenty of softball as well. Boys lacrosse, a couple of games. Fairfield Ward is at Danbury. Wilton goes to Yorktown Heights, New York. Girls lacrosse, Norwalk at Darien. It is Greenwich home for Daniel Hand. Danbury is at Fairfield Ludlow. That Darien game, by the way, will be on turf number 2. That's out in the Oval, and it's their senior day. Finally, boys volleyball, New Canaan at Staples. Trumbull home for St. Joseph. Ridgefield at Darien, and the Fairfield Co-op is at Greenwich. But again, baseball and Nutmeg Sports later today. With sports, I'm Rob Adams. Kate, back to you.
Thanks so much, Rob. Well, getting back to a little more news today. Democratic incumbent Congressman Jim Himes will be challenged by Reading Republican State Representative John Shaben in November. Himes was nominated for a fifth two-year term representing the 4th District, which includes most of Fairfield County, during the Democratic District Convention in Bridgeport on Monday night. Connecticut Democrats renominated all of their incumbent office holders. Shaben was unopposed at Monday night's GOP District Convention. He was nominated by Tim Herbst, the first selectman of Trumbull. Originally from Brooklyn, New York, Shaben resides in Reading with his wife of 23 years and their 3 sons. The 4th Congressional District comprises most of Fairfield County, including 16 towns such as Reading, Weston, and Ridgefield. And a Ridgefield man says his experience being held in jail for 6 days over a minor motor vehicle charge is an eye-opener on a flawed criminal justice system. 53-year-old Ian Duncan, a marketing executive from Ridgefield, recounted his story and experience to the Ridgefield Press recently. It started back when he was driving through Reading on December 30th when he lost control of his car on Umpqua Road, struck a tree and several wooden guard posts off the northbound shoulder. He couldn't drive the car out of the ditch he had landed in. Rather than call the police to file a report and call for a wrecker to get him out, he called home for his wife to come and pick him up and left the details to the next day. Unbeknownst to him, the Reading police drove by the location, investigated the one-car accident, and wrote him up for an arrest on a warrant of evading responsibility. However, Duncan just about forgot about the unfortunate road accident until the night of March 3rd, when upon checking in at customs at JFK Airport in New York after a business trip, he was informed that he was wanted and a fugitive from justice. He spent the next 6 days in New York jails, the first time in his life he had been arrested and jailed. His jail locations included Rikers Island. Duncan said he'll never forget the experience and wants to share it only in the hopes that the system can improve for the next unfortunate minor offender. And in other news, frustration and some anger ruled the night in Stratford as the town council was evenly split in voting for its 2016-17 town budget. The proposed spending plan, a $215.3 million outlay, could not find approval from councilors alone, leaving it to Mayor John Harkins to break the 5-5 deadlock and set in a budget after a long and sometimes testy discussions. The council also vote to set a tax rate of 38.99 mils for property taxes and 37 mils for car taxes. This is the first year in Stratford that property and car taxes have been separated. However, there's a lot more on that story at StratfordStar.com. And after months of hearings regarding noise from air conditioners at the expanded New Canaan Town Hall, the town of New Canaan has agreed to put a 9-foot U-shaped fence enclosure around the air conditioning units, much to the delight of Cody real estate owner Terry Spring. Cody Real Estate contended that the zoning inspector should not have approved their certificate of occupancy for the renovated and expanded town hall because the placement of exterior air conditioner units is not where the approved plans said they would be. During a May 2nd meeting, the Zoning Board of Appeals approved Spring's appeal of the decision of the zoning inspector's certificate of occupancy. This was after the board received advice from their independent counselor and the town received approval for the barrier from the Planning and Zoning Commission. The barrier will buffer the sound and block sight from Cody Real Estate's neighboring property. Well, we're going to step out for a break, and when we come back, we have an interview with Silver Hill Hospital's Dr. John Douglas talking about the growing heroin problem in the area. Be sure to check that out coming up after this.
Connecticut is coming back to hometown banking, to a partner that makes small businesses feel big, where community comes first, where you get the know-how only neighbors can deliver, where saving time is important too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well. With the 24-month Bank Well Smart CD, you can earn 1.25% APY and raise your rate and add to your CD.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or go to coastalorthoexpress.com. That's coastalorthoexpress.com. Like them on Facebook.
A Better View Window Cleaning Plus has been cleaning glass all over Connecticut for over 20 years. They also specialize in cleaning chandeliers, mirrors, skylights, tiles, and will power wash anything that needs cleaning. They hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and are fully insured and bonded. When you deal with a Better View, you're dealing with the best, not the rest. Call today for a free estimate, 203-284-8836, or visit them online, abetterviewcleaning.com.
Hi, I'm Rob Adams with my good friend Donald Eng, and we're the home team for Nutmeg Sports, Monday through Wednesday at 2 o'clock right here on the HAN Network. We are the place for all things Connecticut sports, so come hang out with us on Nutmeg Sports. Don? They don't call him the best color man in the game for nothing. Nutmeg Sports, 2 o'clock Monday through Wednesday right here on the HAN Network.
I'm Kate Czaplinski for the HAN Network. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're helping to raise awareness and start a conversation here at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan. I'm joined right now by Dr. John Douglas, who is the Clinical Director for the Outpatient Addiction Program. Dr. Douglas, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And we're talking about a very important topic today, which is heroin in the suburbs. And I think for many people, the idea they have of a heroin user is someone in an alley, is, dirty. And now that's kind of changing. The face of that is changing. What is the new face of heroin use?
Yeah, so I really appreciate that question because the demographics of heroin use are really changing. And traditionally, it has been more common in inner city environments among the population you described. But now heroin use is really growing in many different demographics, and it affects people of all ages, races, sexes, income levels. But it is particularly growing fastest among white young adults ages 18 to 25 who live in suburban communities.
And what has changed? I mean, what's kind of brought more attention to this drug? What's happened?
Well, why it's getting more attention is a complicated question that has a lot of factors to it that researchers are actually currently looking into. But one of the reasons heroin use is growing so much is that our country is being flooded with heroin, and the amount of heroin that's available is really staggering now. And that is really lowering the cost of heroin to make it very cheap. And drug dealers are looking to expand their markets. And white young adults who live in the suburbs are an attractive target because they usually have access to money and a place where they can use privately out of sight from law enforcement.
Now, what is the path to heroin addiction? Does it go right to heroin, or are there other drugs first? Tell us how that happens.
So that's a great question as well. So somewhat like your question is alluding to, heroin is not usually the drug that someone tries first. And actually, substance use for most people who have addictive disorders starts in adolescence under social pressure. And people usually start with the substances that are most widely available, like alcohol, cigarettes, and marijuana. And the longer they associate with people who use substances, the more likely they are to move on to trying other substances. And some of the next most available substances are prescription medications, which include pain pills like OxyContin or oxycodone. And people usually, when they first are trying those substances, they are getting them for free from relatives or friends. And very often they'll even be taking them from medicine cabinets and just finding them where they can. By the time that free supply runs out, though, they have often developed an addiction to the opioids, and then they turn to trying to buy the pain pills from drug dealers. They find that the pain pills are much more expensive, and then they switch to heroin mainly due to cost.
Now, there's been some crackdown, obviously, on prescription drugs. Does that in any way correlate to the rise we're seeing in heroin use?
That's an interesting question too. So there is definitely, they're trying to curb the amount of prescription painkillers that are being prescribed, which really ramped up when pharmaceutical companies in the 90s really started marketing them heavily, and we were dealing with the after effects of that marketing campaign. As far as how that's connected to the heroin use, I'm not sure it's really clear, like how those policies are curbing the heroin use, and it's hard to tell, especially because we're not curbing the amount of heroin coming into the country.
And let's talk a little bit. You mentioned cost. Let's talk about buying heroin on the street maybe versus buying prescription pills. What's the cost difference there?
So that's a great question too. So the cost of prescription pills and heroin can vary depending on your region, but for prescription pills, it can be between $40, $60 a pill, which you compare that to a bag of heroin, which often goes for about $10 a bag, which is cheaper than a pack of cigarettes. So and it's important to note that pain pills and heroin work exactly the same. They have the same mechanism. So just from the consumer standpoint, once they become open to heroin, they get the same effect and they can get a lot more for their money, which drives that switch.
How easy is it in, say, a beautiful town like New Canaan, we're in Fairfield County, how easy is it to get access to these kinds of drugs?
Well, personally, I've never seen it, but in just going around the community. But we have numerous patients from this community who find it readily accessible. So I think for the person who's just kind of living their life in the suburban community, they may never see it. But for someone who is searching it out, it is readily available.
And what can parents do, or just any loved ones do, for the people in their lives that they're worried could fall down this addiction hole?
So that's a great question. I get that question a lot, actually. And I would say there's two different ways to approach that question. There's one is how to prevent your loved one from ever being addicted, which is the ideal path. That would be the easiest path, is to stop it before it starts. And the best way for parents to do that is to set clear expectations of their children's and adolescents to not use any substances during those times. And that includes alcohol. And it's been shown actually that when someone delays initiation of alcohol or drug use by a year, for every year they delay that, they decrease the chance of developing an addictive disorder by 5%. So that can be very challenging in our culture today, where drinking alcohol is quite prevalent. But the best advice I have for parents is to set a firm expectation for their children to not use alcohol or drugs during childhood or adolescence. And that is the best way to prevent them from developing an addictive disorder. As far as once this disorder takes hold and once they are concerned that their child may be addicted, the best possible thing they could do is not do this on their own and engage their child in treatment. And so you want to get them into treatment as quickly as possible and follow the recommendations of the treatment team.
Let's talk a little bit about prescription pills that people might have in their cabinets. What should they do with those? So
I think this focus on heroin and prescription pills is really scaring a lot of people. And I know a lot of people are very concerned, and it's a very good topic to be talking about, becoming aware of the danger. But I think sometimes the impression that prescription pills are just other drugs that people are abusing it's a confusing message. Mm-hmm. And so most people who use prescription pain pills are not abusing them. They are using them legitimately for the purposes of controlling pain. But the problem is they should be used in most cases to control acute pain. And when people stay on them for a long period of time, they often accumulate prescriptions, and that is when they sometimes get into the wrong hands. And so if you have prescriptions for painkillers that are old and lying around the house, you should discard your old medications. And you should be very mindful of where you keep medications which can be abused, and know that people who abuse them may be going through your medicine cabinet. So you should be thinking, should I keep this under a locked medicine cabinet where perhaps children and other people can't have access to it. So people should get rid of their old prescriptions, which you can just throw them in the trash. And if you need to keep those prescriptions, you should be mindful that they may be abused, and keep them locked if you have people in the house that you don't want to have access to your medications.
That's really great advice, Dr. Douglas. Is there anything else we should keep in mind just when starting to address this growing heroin issue in the suburbs?
The main thing I would just encourage people to know is that they are not alone, and that this problem is affecting numerous people all throughout our country. And it's a problem that needs to be tackled, and it is also a problem that will not go away without professional help. Heroin, pain pills, they're some of the most addictive drugs in the world, and it does take professional help to have a sustained, long-lasting recovery.
All right, well, Dr. Douglas, thank you so much for talking with us today. We really appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, if you want to see more of our coverage on mental health awareness this month with Silver Hill Hospital, you can visit han.network. We'll see you next time.